So in this class this morning, we're going to be working with chairs as we always do in this class. And I'm going to be adding some work with a theraband, a cross crawl pattern that you can do with the theraband, and some work to strengthen the outer hips. If you don't have a theraband, it's totally fine. You can also use a yoga strap. You'll see how I do it. You could use a jump rope. If you happen to have surgical tubing because you were given that at a physical therapy office, you can use that as similar to the theraband. Or if you have a bungee cord, that can also be used, but I don't like the little things on the end of the bungee cords. Those can be painful. So you have to hold it in a particular sensitive manner. So look at Ellen is all prepared. That's great. Yeah. They also make those, where it has a loop on both sides and then it's stretchy in between, but it has a different name. I don't recall what that is. So whatever you have to substitute for a theraband is totally fine. Okay, let's sit for a little bit together, please. You can rest your hands in your lap. Let your eyes close. And appreciate the efforts that you've made to come to class, to be here this morning. Inside these efforts is your commitment to yourself. So allow the breath to come down into your pelvis to support your arrival. And let the breath also come up from the pelvis towards your heart to support your intention for being here. So you're arriving and also refreshing your intention as to why you've come to class. And at first your response might be something about your well-being, but if you let that expand outwards like ripples on the surface of the water, generally speaking, our well-being helps us to be more present to ourselves and others, our family and friends, our community and the world. It may help give us that boost we need for our service or contribution, our chores or our responsibilities. It may help you to be the person you are when you're more generous or more available, or to help somebody else, you become a place of refuge or solace for them. And let's join the hands together at the heart. May our practice nourish us, and may it help us to be the better version of ourselves, even if it's only today for our own well-being, because circumstances are that that's your most important priority. On other days, you may have other intentions and priorities as well. We'll chant Sahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Savidyam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. Thank you. You're welcome to bow your head to your heart. And release your hands. And please open your eyes. Okay, I'll move back to my chair now, so I won't be looking at the sunbeam in any angle. Let me just get this ready. Thanks for your support in the form of patience. Okay, there we go. And I'll just straighten that out a little bit. It's crooked. Okay, so please take a seat on the front edge of your chair and just have your theraband close by and a couple of blocks as well. I'd like to begin on the front edge of the chair because you can move your pelvis better. You can have a little bit more range here, whereas when we sit back on the chair, based on the dimensions of your chair and your height and agility, you'll have less ability here. However, if you feel that sitting on the front edge of the chair is kind of unstable for you based on the chair and your well-being today, then sit maybe partway back on the chair. Okay. Place your hands out over your knees and make a little firm hold on the knees so that when you lift up now through the crown of your skull, you have kind of what we call closed chain. So when you place the fingers and press them into the knees, it closes the chain rather than having the hands be lifted, or even if the hands were passive. So then when you lift up through the inner body, I want you to notice that you have to activate muscle tone to do that. Yeah. Now breathe in and out through the nose. And just notice what it's like to add a little bit of tone to the inner body as you lift up through the crown of your skull, root down with your tailbone, and make the fingers gently firm on your knees. And ask yourself if the inhale might be able to go from the pelvis to your mid-torso and possibly up into your heart and your collarbones. Like the breath is causing the collarbones to float a little bit at the top of your inhalation. And then notice on the exhale if you're able to find any bit of tone in the lower belly. Just a gentle, consistent support. Not like the sit-ups of high school, not like Jane Fonda sit-ups either. A consistent tone for the length of your exhalation. And then relaxing there, let both arms dangle down now. And let's do a little warm up for the neck before we reach for the theraband. So you can hold the seat of the chair, which we were doing last week and many prior weeks. But I'm going to ask you today to see if you can hold the seat, but reach your arm back to do that. So going back for me, I'm able to hold the leg of the chair closest to the seat. Okay, and then lift up through your heart, come kind of forward and up, and roll your right shoulder back. Lift both collarbones. And then raise up with your throat, only in the comfort zone of your neck, please. And we're going to add, take your left hand, excuse me, behind your head and pull up at the base of the skull when your heart is coming forward. So this is really about going up, even though there's a little bit of forward. I want you to think of the lengthening up through the spine. So we're not really jutting the rib cage forward. The ribs might come forward, but it shouldn't feel like it's only at your floating ribs. I really want this to be up in your heart. And then exhale, lower your left arm, relax your right arm and shoulder. Reach back with the left hand to hold the seat of the chair, or maybe where the leg meets the seat of the chair. Draw your left shoulder back. Lift your heart up. Yep, and then begin to raise your gaze. And when you are ready to, take your right hand to hold the back of your head. It's okay for the right elbow to come a little forward. Notice what it is to keep the left shoulder back as you're going up with your heart. Exhale and release from there. So lower your right arm, relax your left arm and shoulder. You hold the left side of the chair with your left hand, tip your right ear towards your right shoulder. And bring your chin down towards your left collarbone. Now picking this up from last week's class, when you bring your chin towards your left collarbone, also place your right hand on the collarbone there and pull down gently, so that you have to press up into your left hand. You have this motivation to press up because your hand is pulling down. You notice how you do that inward lift. It's not just the crown of the skull. That might feel like you're going up and over to your right. That is in there. But the lift of the inner body is supported by something more than just lifting the spine up. And consider, for example, the influence of your breath on your ability to lift from the inside. And when you next exhale, release your right arm down, relax your left fingers, and then float your head back up to center. And it's possible that your head's going to feel like a little bit swimmy right there. Hold the seat of the chair with your right hand. Take your left ear down towards your left shoulder and bring your chin towards your right collarbone. And then take the left hand up to give a little weight, a little pressure down against your right collarbone. And while I'm recommending that the lift you have inwardly and upwardly is really breath supported, I want you to go inside and feel the capacity you have and also the sincerity of that lift. So it's not, you're not making an effort to perform or accomplish something for anybody else. And we aren't lifting the chest by picking up the collarbone, it's supported from the underside. And then release your left arm down, relax your right fingers, and float your head up to center. Okay, now reach for your theraband, please. So we're going to first do something for the upper body, and then we'll use this for your knees and hips as well. So I have found over the years that for me, this kind of theraband, which has no handles, and I just cut it from a really big tube of therabands, I like to put it on my thumbs and then wrap my hands around, so that when I'm holding it, it's kind of holding itself. And I end up with my hands shoulder width apart. My TheraBand is yellow this morning. I couldn't find my red one or my green one. So this is kind of matches the room that I'm in, right? See the color coordinated. But this is the least tension on the TheraBand because it's the lightest color that we have in our particular batch. If you need your TheraBand to have less tension, if you've made it too tense when you folded it, move your hands wider and let the TheraBand be a little bit baggy between. If you needed to have more tension, you make the theraband closer. So it's really up to you in that regard. Okay, so when you inhale, please raise both arms up to shoulder height. And then exhale, pull your left hand down. If you're using a yoga strap, you want to make a loop in the strap that allows your hands to be this wide. And then let's come back up. So if I had a strap around my wrist, I would start with my hands wider. And then for every one, pull the right hand down, even if it's just a yoga strap. So you've got to keep the left arm stable. Yep. Let's inhale to go up to level. And exhale, draw down with your left arm and think of the challenge you're posing to your right arm, not the distance that your left arm can go. Inhale to come up to center. Holding the left arm stable, pull your right arm down and start noticing what parts of your abdomen get activated as you pull down. And inhale up to center. You want the abdomen to be activated. You're not doing something wrong. And then pull down on the left, stabilize on the right. And rise up. And one more time, right arm down. And then inhale to glide up to shoulder height. Okay, and then let's take this theraband or your yoga strap. If you're using a loop for the strap, I'm going to ask you now to use the not loop part of your strap and put it across the front of your shins for everyone. Now, if you're sitting in a chair, that means your shins are kind of lower rather than higher. You could put your blocks under your feet. What we're going to be doing is like this. You're going to pull back so that the shoulders have to pull back. The arms are helping, but it's really coming from the shoulders. So if you're using a yoga strap, I recommend that you hold it firmly and slide your hands on the cotton strap as you try to pull the shoulders back. At end range, you can then grip the strap and make this action stronger. When you have a theraband, one of the benefits of that is that you get to feel the tension of the band both when you're coming back with the action and when you're gliding the hands forward. And that's an important time. When your arms are coming forward again, go slowly, don't let the band win. So you're giving, let's say, steadiness in both directions. And each time that you pull the band back, I do want you to think of the heart being supported by the breath to go up. And when you're exhaling to release the arms to go forward, think of the tone that you would need in the lower abdomen, mid-abdomen, upper abdomen to stay stable. Let's do it twice more. There you go. Good. One more time with the breath as your guide. And now release the band like a little decoration, like this. I'm just being playful, but rest your hands in your lap and notice any energy, heat, vibrancy that you have in your shoulders, your upper back. If you find that you're using your neck for the activity rather than just keeping the neck long and the head stable, then make a note of that for yourself. Work less hard at the action and be more sensitive to your internal posture. Now let's wrap the band again. So you're gonna, whatever device you're using, if it's a band, I hold it in my thumbs and I wrap it like that. And then take both arms forward. And what I'd like you to do now is pull your left shoulder back, left elbow back, press the right one forward. Notice that that's going to twist you to your left in the upper body. And then bring it back to center and try to time your return here so that both arms meet at the same time. Okay, put these two actions together. Right elbow back, left arm forward. That's going to twist your upper body to your right. Good. And then returning, synchronize the return. And let's inhale, Pull back, twist left. And exhale to return. If you're using a yoga strap, hold it firmly in the hand that's forward and slide it in the hand that's pulling back. If you're using a yoga strap, then each time you come back to center, you have to kind of recalibrate the strap. It's worth it. So when you pull back, even if you're using a cotton strap, you've got some tension on the cotton. You slide your hand on that. And the tension of pulling back, I'm saying that's worth it because you're adding this closed chain response. We're doing two things at once here. We are pushing one arm forward as we pull the other arm back, and they're together helping the twist to happen. And we're going to go one more time to the right. This will be the last one. And then forward slowly. And you can decorate your lap again. Relax. And just take notice then, if anything feels more balanced for your mind, it's only a hypothesis. You don't have to conjure that. Only notice what's really sincere. Okay, now we are going to turn to the right in your chair. A reminder that if you have a hip replacement, a sacroiliac issue, a lower back issue, I want you to put a block between your knees. Turn to your right. So the block between the knees is to prevent you from adducting the knees towards each other. One thing that people do, and I'll say this because I've been talking with Ellen and some others about this, something people do when they're going to go from sitting to standing, like on the physio ball, Ellen, sometimes people stand up by putting the knees together to come up like that, and then they kind of put the knees together to sit down. That's called adduction, which we don't want to get into the habit of doing to stand up because we want the strength at the outer hips and the quads and hamstrings. So the block between the knees is also a reminder not to adduct the knees together right now. Okay, lift up through your heart, please, and rotate to your right. Please hold the upper back of the chair with both hands and gaze over your right shoulder. And as you're gazing to your right, go ahead and close your eyes. You're not at risk of losing your balance. You haven't told me that you are. Nobody has said they have vertigo. So please do it if it's appropriate to close your eyes. And use the breath to go inwardly from the lower middle to the upper part of your torso. And check that you've twisted only so deeply as you can actually do that with the breath. So we're looking for a smooth transition of the breath moving up in the inner body. You could picture each of the vertebrae working harmoniously, like when you see the red and white striped barber pole, and the stripes are always the same distance from each other. And when you exhale, then start to unwind, facing towards your knees. Pause a moment right there. Now you have this opportunity here to explore what a twist is like without using the upper back of the chair. So I'm going to ask you to wrap the band around both hands. Place your right hand across your right knee, left knee, excuse me. I'm mirroring you. And then glide this one back. And using the strength that you glide back with, try twisting to your left. And you can reach for the seat of the chair. and pull up with the inner body. So your twist has a lot of support right now. Add the support of the breath inside. Okay, when you next inhale, energize the back of your left shoulder and shoulder blade, and then raise the left arm just a couple inches from the chair seat. And exhale, rotate back around to face towards your knees. And let's spin to the other side or walk around to the other side, whatever is appropriate for you. Lengthen up through your spine and let's rotate to the left, please. And again, go inside and ask if how you're twisting, that the breath feels like the red and white stripes on the barber pole. They're always the same distance and they seem to have a shared rhythm. And in the same way, I want the spine to have this kind of support from your mindfulness and your breath. Let's do one more breath cycle, please. And then unwind, gaze towards your knees, turn back to face what is forward right now. Wrap your band around your hands and reach the left hand across to your right knee. And then begin to pull back with your right shoulder first. And when you're reaching back that way, that is the strength at the back of your right shoulder. So rotator cuff, mid trapezius, lower trapezius. And you can hold the seat of the chair with your right hand. And as you gaze over your right shoulder, if you'd like to, you could close your eyes. And try to sense all the support you've added to your twist, a little bit like if you were a tent. You have good tent stakes right now, and you want the center line of the tent to be strong, not falling on your head when you're sleeping. Let's now inhale, raise the right arm. So start with your right shoulder and shoulder blade. Not with the right side of your neck and not the top of the shoulder where the muscles bunch the shoulder up towards the ear, like how we used to hold the phone to the ear. Now we're going to release. The right shoulder is the first thing to release, then unwind and face towards your knees. And notice. Particularly, I'm going to ask you to notice any changes in your sense of mental focus or like a collaboration between your right brain and your left brain. And then place this block back down. And then we'll do one thing seated here in the chair with the band or with the yoga strap. And if you have a strap, this can also work. I see that I have a tiny hole in my TheraBand, so it's possible that I'll actually snap this TheraBand while I'm practicing. I've never had that be painful, but I'm just telling you in case you hear the sound of a TheraBand snapping. Put the knees together, put the band under behind your knees, and then we're going to tie it. I do recommend you tie it in a bow tie because it's easier to untie that rather than a knot. And once you have it around the front of the shins, there's like this little crease right there at the bottom of the kneecaps and the top of the shins. Put it right there and then walk out until you're just wider than hip distance. Okay, and while sitting upright, I'd like you to have a sense of your responsibility in the pelvis to be toned and stable. So don't arch your back to sit like this, please, nor are you slouching. I trust you, but I'm going to make note of that so that if you sense just to sit upright and press the knees out against the band, there ought to be a collaborative tone across the lower abdomen. Now we're going to go toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, and then press out, using the muscles at the outer hips right back here. Good. And then we're going to go toe, heel, coming in slowly. So you're going to notice these muscles are still toned. And when you get to a place where you pause, they remain a little bit toned. So does the lower belly. We're going back out like the Fonzie. Wherever he is today, I don't know. You get to your end range and then press out. So if you're using a yoga strap, increase the pressure against the strap for a few moments. And if you have a strap, then make it a moderate pressure. And now everyone toe, heel back in. If you have a strap, of course, it's going to get lax. The band is also getting a little bit more gentle. And then out again we go. Okay, and when you press out against the band or the strap where you have like your most firm outward pressure, notice again right out here at the outer hips. And breathe in. And then we'll do it again, heel, toe, back to center. Okay, now keeping your right knee forward, do only the left side. Walk it out. And press out, noticing anything that's different for you on doing only the left leg. So what we're going to do here, if you look at it, I would like your knee to line up with the third toe, and then press it out to the fifth toe, third, fifth. These are small actions. Third toe. So we're not actually collapsing in. And then out to the fifth, third. Like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by the toe. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Your knee is doing eeny, meeny, miny, mo with the third toe and the fifth toe. And I want you to sense that that is supported at your outer hip, right back here. Good. Now keeping the pressure out on your band or your strap, walk the toes and heels back in. Of course, if you have a strap, it just got lax. Now keeping the left leg stable, go to the right. There you go. Establish your seat, line up with the third toe, and then pressing out. Fifth toe, third, fifth, there you go. Notice where you're making the action from. And also, if you feel like the left leg is helping, it should be. That's not considered cheating. This is a collaborative structure. So if the left leg is doing a lot more of the work than the right leg, we want to know about that. But if you feel like you're toning the left outer hip, like Olivia asked that question yesterday in her clamshells, yes, you're using both hips. You also want to sense the support at the abdomen. And then heel, toe, back in. And let's untie the band or the strap and take notice if you place your feet just hip distance apart now. What is your experience of your pelvis? Okay, please rise up to standing. Thank you for playing like that. We're going to take the upper back of the chair as a support, so turn it. I'll turn mine as a profile. Okay, so facing the chair with both hands at the top of the chair, you can see that for me, I'm not that tall and my chair is not that tall. So this is an easy reach. For those of you who are taller and this chair feels shorter, Just lightly rest your fingertips on the upper back of the chair. Breathing in. When you exhale, bend both knees slightly, put your weight into your heels. Now see if you can find those muscles at the outer hips that we were just using. So if you transfer your weight, not that you're going to lean, but transfer your weight into your left hip. So everything, your whole body glides. You're not leaning your torso over. And then glide back to center. And then glide to your right. And notice that the muscles at the outer right hip, hopefully they turn on. Glide to center. Glide to your left. Glide to center. And glide to your right. And check that you've got muscle tone at the outer right hip. And then come to center. Now the distance that you're going left to right is actually relatively small. Something like this, where you can sense. You kind of inhabit that side pocket. I used to call those, like if you had the painter pants on, they had the loop. I think they put a paintbrush or a screwdriver or a hammer in that loop. That's where you're kind of toning the muscles right there. So I want you to use that tone when we step back with one foot. So exhale, bend your knees very slightly. Place your glide into your right leg and hip. And then step your left foot back. Bring the big toe down, mount at the big toe, the inner heel. And from that, what shall I say, the painter pants, from the loop on the pants, press your right hip down, energize your right thigh, your right shin, your right heel, the right pinky, the big toe. So the right hip should have a sense of its full responsibility. Wrap your band around your hands, please. Press down into your left hip, left heel, and pull your right arm back so that you keep the left hand forward on the band or on the chair, and just pull the right arm back. It makes this into a cross abdominal action and a cross crawl pattern for your mind. You need only bring the right arm kind of back in line with your torso. It doesn't have to go any farther back. And then begin to glide your right arm and your left heel up and forward and step into both legs. Bend your knees slightly, put a little glide into your left. Don't lean out to your left far. I want you to just contact the muscles at your left outer hip. And then take the right toes back. So you have the big toe, the mount of the big toe, the inner heel. The outer heel. And then connecting, so at the left loop on the painter's pants. Press down into your left thigh. Give a little squeeze to the left hamstring muscles. They should be active here. And then left outer heel, pinky toe, big toe. And just gently pull your left arm back while keeping the right arm and right fingertips forward. So that's going to add an action that requires your obliques. I'm not asking you to pull your left hip back, nor to bring the right hip forward. Only to glide the left shoulder back. Now as you next inhale, begin to lift your right heel and your left arm. And then step forward. Release your band and let's take this into Surya Namaskar. We'll do the upper back of the chair for this morning. Join your palms together. Feel the places in your body that you're awakening right now. As you next inhale, take the arms down, palms face forward, rise up. Now let's exhale and bend the knees and sit down to chair pose. So as you sit down, When your hips are going back, keep your body weight in your heels and toes and find those little painter loops on your pants, your painter pants. Okay, with that tone, now inhale, press down, and let's go up, upward hands pose. And then exhale, sweep your arms wide, broaden your chest and heart, and lightly touch the upper back of the chair. Bend your knees a tiny bit. Let's inhale, take the left toes back. It's going to be your big toe, mound the big toe, inner heel, outer heel. Now exhale, root your tailbone and find the painter's loop on the right outer hip. So you can make that line of action down into your right footprint. And then inhale, sweep your arms wide and up. If you have your balance pretty well, you can practice looking up. Looking up even a couple degrees is going to shift your balance. So you check in with yourself to see. And if looking up means that you lose the tone at the right outer hip, then gaze down until you find that tone. So when you move your eyes, it moves your mind. So try to keep your mind at the right outer hip. Now we're going to exhale, sweep the arms wide. Again, broaden your chest. Put your body weight into your right outer hip and outer heel and step forward using your arms freely or holding the chair if you need to. Then hands back together at the heart. Okay, inhale. Bend your knees, sit down to chair pose. Remember, you're not just sitting down, you're going to support yourself at the outer hip, the painter loops. And inhale, rise up. And exhale, arms wide. Place your fingertips lightly on the chair. Bend your knees a little bit, and then glide your right toes back. With your exhale, strengthen from your left outer hip to your heel. Of course, there's other things going on too. I'm just mentioning this one particular line to bring your heightened awareness to that today. And if you have your balance, sweep your arms freely out to the side and up overhead. If you'd like to practice gazing up, do so only so long as you don't forget your left hip. You just keep your mind, it's like this tiny region of the body, but so important to your internal balance. And then as you exhale, open the chest, heart, collarbones, shoulders, and see if you can step forward, press into your left hip and heel. You may need to use the chair, that would be all right. You can also practice not using it. Now place both hands on the upper back of the chair. Try to make your hands at least as wide as your shoulders. So that might mean, like I'm doing, going to the edge of the chair where it's more round. And if you're a tall person and the upper back of the chair feels too short, when you step back, bend your knees so that your hips and your spine are your priority rather than your hamstrings. And I don't want you to round the spine like a turtle. If you haven't tried this pose with the knees bent because your hamstrings just seem very flexible, go ahead and try it with the knees bent. See what's in there for you. If you are trying that, take notice that the knees don't collapse in towards each other. Now, as you're holding the chair, wrap the pinky finger side of the hands more firmly against the chair. And hopefully you'll notice the outer part of your shoulder blades also get activated. And see if you have connection with the outer hip muscles where the painter loops are. And press down against the chair. Start rolling your spine up so that a little bit like cat pose. That gives you the chance to look forward and see where you're going as you step one foot forward and the other foot forward and rise up to mountain pose. And now we're going to take the seat of the chair instead of the upper back of the chair. So you can turn your chair around. Mine's a little bit of a noisy chair, so pardon me. I would like you to put a couple of blocks on your chair so we can place the blocks on the seat of the chair to be more stable. There you go. Okay. So the yogis who are here who are in training, I expect that you might have some sore muscles from yesterday, like even little ones. And thank you for being intrepid. So please turn your right foot to point towards the chair, pretty much in line with the blocks if you can get there. And then walk the left foot back to what you think of as your warrior two distance. Important that you're not going to run your knee into the side of your chair. Give a little test drive there. How comfortable is this? Okay. I think you got it. Okay. Let's hold the theraband so it's long. It should be lax at the moment. It's not the tightest version of your theraband. You heard that mine snapped, so it's shorter than when I started the class. So you hold it so it's a little bit lax. Right. With the hips, let's make sure that you're basically that the pelvic floor is level. The sitting bones are level. So if you tip your pelvis like you're pouring tea over your right leg, then you have your left sitting bone high and the right sitting bone low. As you come through there, sometimes people overcorrect for that and they end up with the right sitting bone high and the left sitting bone a little bit low. So I'm asking you to look for the place where the sitting bones are balanced. Yeah, like that. And then bend your right knee. Okay, and place your right fingers on the block so you can press down there. And that downward pressure is going to tone the right hemisphere of your trunk. And then pull the left arm back. Let's imagine I have a longer band, so you're going to pull this back. And I got to lengthen mine a little bit more. Bring it out like you're doing warrior two right there. Yep. So make sure I don't lose my band now that I shortened it by snapping it. Okay. Yep. There you go. So the hands can be lower than the shoulders for this version of warrior two right now. I want you to sense the power of having support and what we call closing the chain. Good. So press down into both feet. Check that your sitting bones feel level to you. As you breathe into the inner body, notice the inward lifting nature of the spine. Press your right fingertips down. And though you're drawing both shoulders slightly back, so the shoulder blades are active on the upper back, please don't squeeze the upper back. You can have the chest be broad front and back. Now as you exhale, begin to lower your left arm, which is going to maintain some of the tone of the theraband. And then release the band and float your arms up in warrior two and see if they might feel like a little bit lighter, like they're resting on the air underneath them. And let's inhale, glide up to center. Turn your right foot to face forward and let's go heel toe in. Now you all can turn around just to face the other way, I'm going to pick up my setup, which is a little bit noisy. And point your left toes towards the chair. Check that you're not going to run into it. And you can reach the top of the block easily. And again, if you're taller than I am, which is kind of easy to do, I'm only 5 feet tall, 5'1" sometimes. You can make the blocks taller like that. So it's really up to you what feels stable and supportive. Okay, so let's make the pelvis level to the best of your ability. Now for some of you, when you stand like this, if you put the right foot like precisely horizontal to the back of your mat, for some of you, you're going to have a bony end range right here, and you will not be able to level the pelvis, which is actually the case for me right now. So if you look at my hip bones, let me use pink because it's more obvious. I can't level my pelvis here. It's not a bony limitation, it's a metal limitation. So it's the shape of the apparatus in my hip joint, the way the titanium is put in there. It's the size of the ball and the size of the socket that they're stopped here. So for those of you who might have that because of your bony landmarks, pivot this heel out a little bit further and then see if you can level your hips. Another option is to shorten the stride that you're using. Okay, and then bend your front knee. Yeah, so this is based on your hip structure. So I'm asking you to accommodate yourself. And then holding your cute theraband. Right hand over to the block, left hand over to the block, excuse me, and press down so you've got this stabilizing force. And begin to glide your right arm back. Gaze to your left. Put your mind's eye on your sitting bones, the outer hips, inner thighs, shins and heels, arches and toes. And from the sitting bones upwards through your spine. And the shoulders, they do set lightly back, but broaden your heart on the front and the back. And then release the band and see if the arms might float up. And now let's inhale, glide up to center. And turn your left toes in. Make the right foot parallel, and you can go heel toe. You can practice heel toe, or you can practice stepping back to center. Relax the arms. So a few weeks ago, I showed you guys how to do a warrior two with a chair, a block, and a couple of blankets. And I'd like to just review that because it fits into our sequence really well this afternoon, this morning, whatever time it is. So let me turn my chair so my seat's going to be facing you. Remember that I have like a personal sort of pet peeve about when people start teaching the standing poses of yoga in a chair just to make this similar shape of the pose as if the pose is the purpose. So that warrior two can sometimes look like this for people. They're doing this. But they feel like they're participating in warrior two in the class. And yet, it's not that beautiful, right? You should feel concerned for me as I show it that way. So what I'd like us to do is take a block under, let's say this is your right foot. So we'll call this my right side right now. So put the block under your right foot and slide back, and you're going to see that you'll be able to have your pelvis and your thigh on the chair. But look, the knee is higher than the hip and the chair is lower. So you take a blanket. In my case, I'm going to recommend that you do the same. You fold the blanket to go on the chair seat. And you sit down and you ask, okay, is my knee still higher than my thigh? In my case, it is. So I take another blanket and I fold it and I say to myself, this is so worth it because my hips are worth supporting. Now, the reason for the block over there is because for many people, to have the proper height for the back leg in this pose, we have to raise the front leg. When you're sitting on a chair, to have the proper height for this leg, this is called the back leg, you have to raise things up for your pelvis and your front thigh and your front foot to be supported. So I do want your pubic bone to be free here, so it's not pressing into the blankets. If your thigh is short, it can be harder, so you have to pull this back. There you go. Okay. I was just showing you, you can make the hips level. Yeah. Okay, so with your right foot, press down. Even though you're so supported, press down, and with the right outer hip, activate. So under where your right hamstring is, you can tone those muscles underneath the pelvis. And then take the arms wide and gaze to your right. With the left leg, you have it set back so that it's straight and strong. Maybe you have 2 or 3 or 5 blankets on your chair. It's really up to you. Go up inwardly. So you want to sense we are not pancaking onto the right thigh on the chair. In fact, the right leg is working. Most of the muscles of the right leg are working, but it has support. And when you release the arms down now, to bring your left leg to meet your right leg, hold the upper back of the chair, place your hand on the blankets, and glide your left leg through. And then we'll go to the other side. Okay, so put your block at the ready. I move my blankets over because I want you to have the pubic bone be free in this position. So left foot, right leg. There you go. Okay, yeah, very nice. And then float the arms up and gaze out over your left arm. Make the right leg strong. Press into your left heel. You can even use the toes. Mine are holding the edge of my block, just to be playful, I suppose. Tone the left outer hip and the left hamstring. While we're here, let's just see what is the benefit of this if you were to be doing the rising warrior pose. Yeah. And what if this was a foundation you could use for your side angle pose, which means you are going to rotate the pelvis now. Oh yeah, you guys look beautiful. Radiant. Okay, warrior 2. Release your arms, and to bring your right leg up to meet your left leg, you hold the chair and step your right foot forward. And then you release from your setup. Okay, so that's a review from maybe a month or so ago. I can't recall now. I hope your hips are feeling really good at the moment. Let's keep these 2 blankets. If you had 2, if you had 3, you can put that third one or fourth one aside. You can put the band aside and set your chair up for Shavasana. So we're going to go like this morning, since we have these blankets folded You can either use them as they are, or consider that if you do that, sometimes you end up with the blanket higher than the back of your sacrum. It goes up into the lumbar spine, and that may not be where you want that blanket to be. So you can fold them back to the storage fold. You go like this. This is one of my favorite ways to end this particular class and all of my adaptive yoga classes, actually, and my favorite way to start my evening restorative yoga classes. So apparently this is a pose that I'm very fond of. We call it the waterfall pose. So you place your hips and you roll into position. For your waterfall. And there you go. And when you know you have the setup to support your waterfall pose, then I'd like you to just bring the knees towards the shoulders and allow for this little dropping in so it's gravity supported. As I was saying in yesterday's class too, I think. This is gravity supported. And let's take the feet to the front edge of the chair and set your knees and feet up. How fortunate we are that we get to practice together today. I'm going to stay with you in the class here. If you're hearing me make noise, it's because I'm going to cover my eyes. The light beam is coming in because the light in the sky moves during class. Allow your body to integrate the efforts, the new learnings, the things that got reinforced or remembered. Allow your body to integrate from there, not by thinking about it, but really by welcoming your body to know this from the inside. Allow the integration to continue of sinking in. Let the mind take refuge in the process. Your thoughts will not organize your body intelligence here. So allow that deeper intelligence to be your guide. And offer yourself the blessing of mental rest, physical renewal, and inner stillness that reconnects you beyond yourself to everything and everyone. We will rest together for another minute or so. See if this is a time where that resting could go a little bit deeper for you. Now keeping the mind inward and reflective. And lightly wiggle the toes and the fingers. Glide your knees to come towards your shoulders again and see if they can sort of fall towards the shoulders. And please be thoughtful. When you roll down from 2 blankets, you are rolling to your side. And then press yourself up to sitting. You can sit on your blankets. You can sit on the floor. You can sit back on your chair if you like. And try to sense when you come up right now, what is the feeling tone in your body, in your breath, in your verticality. And join your hands at your heart. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. I will come up to see you closer. Without running into my table. Let me just sit a little bit sideways here. There we go. Oh, I have to make a light shade. There we go. Okay. How are you feeling? Hi, Talon's dogs. How's everybody feeling?